All right, everyone, welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're talking all about job interviews, and more specifically, how to use a little bit of psychology to totally rock them.
Exactly.
We've got some seriously fascinating research to dig into today, so let's get right to it.
Sounds good to me.
Okay, so first things first. Anyone who's ever had a job interview knows that preparation is key,
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
but it's got to be more than just, like, skimming the company's website, right?
You're totally right. Think about it this way. The more prepared you are, the less uncertainty you feel. And when you feel less uncertain, you feel less anxious.
Oh, that makes sense.
So yeah, definitely do your research on the company, the role, and if you can, even the person who's interviewing you. It'll help you feel more confident going in, which can make a huge difference.
Totally. It's like when I've actually studied for a test, I actually feel kind of excited to take it. But
Meh.
when I haven't,
Yeah.
let's just say I don't exactly ace it.
Exactly. And you know what's super interesting? There's actually some cool cognitive behavioral stuff going on here, too. Research has actually shown that if you visualize yourself totally rocking the interview beforehand, you're way more likely to actually do it.
Seriously.
Yeah. Our brains have a hard time telling the difference between things we vividly imagine and things that are actually happening.
Wow, that's wild.
So if you can really picture yourself answering the questions confidently, making eye contact, being your awesome self, you're basically creating a mental blueprint for success that you can then, use in the actual interview.
Okay, that is seriously cool. I am adding visualization to my pre-interview routine, like right now. But okay, let's say you've done all your prep. You've visualized yourself giving the world's best interview. What other psychological things can trip people up?
One of the biggest ones. We tend to make the interview all about ourselves,
Oh, yeah.
which, makes sense to a degree. You're trying to showcase your skills and experience. But here's the thing. Interviewers aren't just looking for someone with a laundry list of accomplishments. They want someone who gets them, someone who understands their needs, their goals, their challenges.
Okay, so it's not enough to just talk about how great I am.
Not even a little bit.
Oh.
It all comes down to perspective taking. You got to learn to step into the interviewer's shoes. Every question they ask you is a chance to show them how you can help them solve a problem, achieve a goal, make their lives easier.
So instead of launching into this whole thing about all my past projects, I should be thinking about how my skills connect to what the company actually needs.
Exactly. It's subtle, but it makes a huge difference. Remember, the interview isn't just about you. It's about how well you fit into their world.
That's a really helpful way to think about it.
Hmm.
All right, what else can trip people up in there? Okay, so we've talked about the importance of prepping like crazy and really understanding the interviewer's perspective. But what about body language?
Oh, that's huge. We can't forget about nonverbal cues.
Right, because even if you've got all the right answers, if you're like avoiding eye contact or fidgeting,
Exactly. It sends a totally different message.
so any tips on making sure our bodies are saying the right thing, even if our brains are freaking out a little?
Well, first of all, just being aware of it is a great start. Like, I know I've totally caught myself playing with my hair or something during an interview.
Oh, for sure. Nervous habits are the worst.
The good news is there are things you can do to project confidence, even if you don't totally feel it yet. Things like having good posture, making eye contact, even subtly mirroring the interviewer's body language can make a big difference.
So I should basically channel my inner superhero. Confident stance, steady gaze, that kind of thing.
Pretty much, it's about owning your space and showing that you're present and engaged. And you know what's a fun way to practice? The mirror.
Huh, really?
Sounds silly, but it totally works.
I'll try it. Now, one thing that always gets me is the whole Q&A thing at the end.
Ah, yes. The dreaded Q&A.
It's like, I feel like I'm supposed to come up with these brilliant, insightful questions on the spot, and my mind just goes blank.
It's definitely a pressure moment, but try thinking of it as another opportunity to show off those perspective-taking skills we talked about earlier.
Okay, that's a good point. Right.
Show them you're genuinely interested, that you've put some thought into it. And honestly, the best way to do that is to actually prepare some questions beforehand.
Oh, totally. I've definitely been guilty of just kind of winging it in the past.
It happens,
Right.
but if you jot down a few things beforehand, based on your research, it'll totally take the pressure off.
Solid advice.
Uh,
So we've covered prep, perspective taking, body language, asking good questions. What other psychological traps do we need to watch out for?
oh, here's a big one. Cliches.
Yes.
I'm a team player. I'm a hard worker.
Passionate.
Bingo! We've all heard them. We've probably all used them. But honestly, they're so overused that they've lost all meaning.
So How do I avoid sounding like a broken record of interview cliches? Give me the good stuff.
Instead of just stating these generic qualities, use stories and examples from your past experiences to illustrate them.
Oh, that's so much better.
Right. Instead of just saying, I'm a great problem solver, tell them about a time you actually solved a problem. Give them context. Bring it to life.
Okay, that makes total sense. Stories are way more memorable. What else?
Another one, be careful about oversharing personal information.
Oh, right. Like, this isn't a therapy session.
Exactly. You want to be personable, but keep it professional. Every bit of info you share should be relevant to you getting the job.
It's like filtering a photo, highlight the good stuff, keep it real, but maybe don't show them every single picture on your camera roll.
Perfect analogy.
Okay, what else you got?
This one's important. No matter how tempting it is, don't badmouth previous employers.
Even if they were, like, the actual worst.
Especially then.
Why is that?
Because psychologically it just makes you look bad.
Yeah. I guess it makes you seem like a complainer or someone who blames others.
Exactly. Even if you had a terrible boss or whatever, focus on what you learned from the experience and how it made you a better employee.
Turn those negative experiences into positive takeaways. I like it. Okay, give me one more. What's another thing to watch out for? You know what's funny? I'm realizing that so much of this isn't even about what we say in an interview. It's like how we say it, our body language, even the way we talk about our past experiences. It's wild.
It really is. And honestly, it makes sense when you think about it, right? We spend so much time prepping for the actual questions, but we don't always think about these underlying psychological dynamics that are happening.
Which is why I'm so glad we're talking about it.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hit a couple more of these common traps. So, checking your phone during an interview, good idea or bad idea?
Tough one. Just kidding. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah, I knew you were going to say that.
But seriously, though, it happens more than you'd think, and it's so distracting, even if it's just for a second.
Oh, yeah, I'm the queen of getting sidetracked by notifications.
Our brains just aren't great at multitasking, even if we think we are. So when you check your phone, even for a sec, it takes a while for your brain to really refocus. And the interviewer picks up on that, It says you're not fully present, which translates to not fully interested, even if you are.
Right. Phones away, people. Okay, what about seeming too eager? Is there such a thing as coming on too strong?
100%. There's definitely a sweet spot when it comes to showing enthusiasm. You don't want to seem desperate.
Okay, that makes sense. But how come?
Well, it kind of goes back to that whole supply and demand thing. Like if you seem super desperate for the job, it sends the message that your options are limited, which can actually hurt you later on when it comes to negotiating things like salary or whatever.
Oh, I never thought about it that way.
It's all about confidence. Believe in yourself, your skills, the value you bring to the table. Before the interview, hype yourself up. Remind yourself why you're awesome.
I love it. Okay, we're almost out of time, but this has been so helpful. Any final words of wisdom for our listeners before we wrap up?
Remember, interviews don't have to be scary. You can totally rock them, especially now that you're armed with all this psychological know-how.
So true. Thanks so much for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been my pleasure. I always love nerding out about this stuff.
And to everyone listening, we hope you enjoyed it too. Remember, acing your next interview isn't just about having the right answers. It's about understanding the psychology of the game. And hey, while we're at it, we've been talking a lot about the interviewee's mindset. But what about the interviewer? How much do you think their own biases and expectations come into play? Something to think about. All right, that's it for today's deep dive. Until next time, best of luck out there.